All right, I think we can get going. So I'm Bob Hale. I'm the co-convener of the Global Greens. So I'll be running this session with Frank Sheridan, who's the new Executive Secretary. So welcome, Frank. I'm excited about this group. I think this is one of the things that's dear to my heart. Just making, working out what we're going to do over the next 12 months, where we're going to grow, what else we should be doing. So I'll start off with an update, an overview of the Global Greens and what we are, and hopefully this will work. So it's the same presentation. Oh, did that work, Frank? Can you see my presentation?
It just has started. It's not quite sharing yet.
That's weird.
That's black.
That good? Okay, so this is part of it is this presentation that I gave at the opening session. So I won't go through it really slowly. So this today's session, I'll cover what the Global Greens is, the sort of things that we're doing now, and then it'll be a discussion session around what's important, what else we should be doing, and this will be driven by you. And then we'll work out, we'll go, if there's enough people in for a topic or for an issue, then we'll go out into breakout groups for those different issues. There'll be about 20 minutes discussion around how that might develop, how the breakout groups might, the issue that the breakout groups are covering will develop, and then we'll come back together as a big group to talk about how we go with you getting involved and what else the Global Greens can do. So what is the Global Greens? So we've got fundamental principles based on the Charter. The Charter is a document that was written and approved in Canberra, the first Global Greens Congress, and it's based on participatory democracy, sustainability, non-violence, respect for diversity, social equity, and ecological wisdom. Oh, it keeps disappearing. There's 4 federations in the Global Greens: Africa, Americas, Asia Pacific, and Europe. And within the Global Greens itself, you can see the federations on the right, and on the left, they're the different groups that that make up the organisational part of the Global Greens, and in the middle is the part that what we do. So working groups and networks. So working groups like climate change, parliamentarians group, and there's many different working groups and opportunities for working groups. The main income that we get is from membership fees from our 100 parties, but also tithing from MPs and also donations. We do have a relationship with foundations that provide funding for projects, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So what are we doing right now? The last year we ran a strategy session. So this is different, sorry. So last year we had COP26. That was a very successful working group that we have finished up with about 100 members of that group, and we sent a very strong delegation to Glasgow. December we hired an event manager who's Millie, who is that's the reason that we're able to run this event, because she's done such a great job. In the next month or so, we'll be hiring a volunteer manager to control and help us run lots of different activities over the next 12 months. And then, yeah, so we're working up to the 2023 Congress. And also we've got COP27, which is in November this year. So there'll be a lot of preparation around that. Last year we ran a strategy session, a strategy process. So the things that we agreed that we were going to focus on is training and mentoring, supporting our volunteers, fundraising, communication, and increasing organisation capacity. So building strength and working groups, promoting our networks, and building cross-party support. These are the current working groups and networks: communication and parliamentarians and women's, and then the main working group is climate, and we have also got a few potential working groups, one on Indigenous people, mentoring, political activities and campaigns, LGBTI, and Middle East. So these are possibilities that we've thought about, that people are interested in. And now, what else should we be doing? What sort of things do you want the Global Greens to be doing? So this discussion, we really need to have a pretty free discussion about your ideas. It'll be a general discussion, and then if there's interest in particular areas, then we'll split up into groups. So we might have 5 or 10 areas of interest, and we'll try to narrow them down. We don't want to have a breakout room with 2 people in it, for example. So if there's enough interest, then we'll have a breakout room, and you can go away into that breakout room and have a discussion around, what you want to do, how you want to do it, what support you need, and sort of, those sort of things. Because we don't, in the past we've occasionally set up a working group, but there's nobody really, everyone thinks it's important, but there's nobody there driving it. So they have a few meetings and then it just stops. So we don't want to create that. We want to have something that's sustainable and goes on to do good work. Oops. Yeah, so the same people keep on coming back in. Okay, so that's it for the presentation. I think that there's nothing else in the presentation. No, so that's I'll come back to that later. So we've got now opportunity. So we've got about 40 people, which is quite large, but we'll just start with a discussion. Frank, do you want to add anything at this point? Any explanation that needs to be added?
Sure thing. Yeah, thanks for that, Bob. That's a really great overview. And yeah, just to welcome everybody who's been coming in. For those who've just joined us as well, we've been giving an overview of the Global Greens and what we do and our strategy for the next year. But really today's session, we really want to get your input and advice. Lots of things are important in what we do, but we really want to focus on the working groups and networks. And today we would love to have your input as to what thematics, what ideas would work in a working group. So let's open the floor. If you want to either put in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand and suggest what you think might be a good working group and why, we can have a conversation. It could be based upon some of the things you've seen. I've been watching some of the sessions this morning, which have been really fantastic and really good food for thought. So let's get the ball rolling. I see.
Sorry, Frank.
Tyrone.
Frank, Frank, sorry, Tyrone, just before, I should have mentioned at the start that we do have interpretation in several different languages. So if you see the little globe button down the bottom right, you can choose a language that may not be English. Sorry. Yep, Tyrone. Sorry, Frank, you can manage this part.
Sure, thank you. Right. And thank you to the interpreters as well, doing a great job. Thank you. Tyrone.
Hi, everyone. Over the past kind of 6 to 12 months, I've been networking with Greens around the world, in particular around energy policy. And it's been really interesting to get the perspectives of different Greens members around the world and see what's working for them and what's not. I think if there's a common space where we can all get together and network, we've kind of been informally using Discord servers and kind of just jumping between the different informal, like I'm on the US Greens Discord and the Canadian Greens Discord, and I'm in like a WhatsApp group for the Finnish Greens, and but it's all over the place and trying to get people connected. I think if we have one central location where members can come together and discuss ideas, would be really vital. I also think energy policy is really key going forward. It ties into everything: agriculture, transport, climate policy. So I think those are probably two areas that I would say, we could collaborate most on. So I don't know how you break that into a working group. Anyway, thanks.
That's a great start. Thanks, Tyrone. And it sounds like, and this is going to be true of a lot of things, probably lots of great work is happening out there already, but it may be a little bit fragmented, and this is a great opportunity to bring those things together. So just to get a little bit more detailed, Tyrone, this is sort of you're part of a group of a few loose collectives, and it's centered on energy policy, shifting away economies into renewable energies, I'd imagine.
Yeah, so mostly towards a decarbonised society. So that also includes, nuclear energy, and just a more broader approach around energy. How do we improve efficiency? Whether that efficiency is then used up by new activities. It's got some technical name. It's called a rebound effect or something. And different countries are at different stages along the, the transition path. So, it's really interesting to see like Greens in Finland are a little bit critical of Greens in Germany, for instance, for supporting the closure of their nuclear whilst they're supporting their nuclear, or, some Greens in Africa. I'm really especially keen to learn about energy in Africa and their priorities around getting access to that, because I'm from Australia. We're very blessed to be in a country with an energy abundance, and how we can support them. So yeah, it's been really an eye opener around what people think. We can kind of be very insular in our own little parties and groups.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really key thing about these working groups, that we sort of find common ground and consensus internationally as well. And that's an important part of it. So thanks so much, Tyrone. So I think energy policy and looking at various aspects of that that's fantastic. Thanks so much. Anybody else got some suggestions for working groups? I see one or two in the chat. Margaret, if you don't mind if I shout you out, how can we strengthen the international green voice? Margaret, if you're able to add a few comments to that, would that be okay? Apologies, I've got a big screen of video. Perhaps not. And the last session.
Yes, yes. I guess it's about
thank you.
Finding platforms on which to deliver a message, and from working groups there could be some statement or some approach developed, but I don't know what platforms would be most effective, but other people might have ideas.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's probably very likely there's going to be different platforms which are effective in different countries, different regions, etc. But I think information sharing and capacity sharing and finding out what does work in certain places and how that can transferred over to different parts of the world could be a really important part of a working group too. That's great, Margaret. Thank you.
Lorenzo's got his hand up.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, hi, Lorenzo. Hi.
Hello, how are you doing? Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
I just wanted to add that from my experience with the Global Greens Working Group on the climate change, I think that one thing that we need to get a little bit better is the connection between these working groups and the local communities. I see a lot of interest when you talk about Global Greens and what we do on a global level. There's a lot of interest from local communities to understand and be in some way connected to this, but we don't really have a lot of instruments to facilitate this right now. I think we need to work a little bit on creating more instruments that allows a local activist from a small village or a small town in some way to interact with these working groups or have a place where they can find all the information, where they can find what is being talked about, what we're doing, and create a little bit more connection, I think.
Absolutely, that's a really good point, and I think we all, one wonderful thing about the Global Greens is how we realize how many of there are around the world, and it's a really, really fantastic part of what we do. Of course, a lot of the time, most of the time, we're working in grassroots and working in communities, and that's one of the really powerful things about the green community too. And I think with that, we obviously want to have really effective working groups, and perhaps one working group could be based upon structure and how we information share. That'd be really, really valuable. So thanks, Lorenzo. Do we have anyone else? I'm just going to shout out a new person. Sorry, Tyrone, I see your hand up. 1 second. But Jason in the chat, I think the Green Network should share everything possible about green candidates around the world. This may help on tonight. Yeah, absolutely. Jason, would you like to share a few words and explain that a little bit more? Hi.
Sure. Hi, thank you for bringing me on. Yeah, so I'll start with a disclaimer. I'm the campaign manager for one Miss Veronica Fimbres, who is running for insurance commissioner, one of the top 5 positions in California. As a green, she's got to work extra hard to get some sort of votes that aren't already automatically going over to the corporate sellout. So I feel that if we had some sort of database somewhere that we all know to look for who's doing what green-wise around the world, that we could all then get behind, whatever social media you may or may not use. I'm on pretty much all of them. Share it across all platforms possible to really help further the green message by helping to really shine light on these smaller candidates who, could do good for the people all around the world if only they weren't constantly being stepped on and drowned out.
Definitely, it's hard being green, as we know. Sometimes you're fighting two fights in a way. So it sounds like there's an aspect. I'm sorry.
Oh no, Jason, I was just wondering, are you imagining that we would be sharing social media? Is that what you're saying, that we would promote your issue on social media and you would promote ours, that sort of thing?
Yeah, pretty much. So say a green PM is up for re-election or something in Australia or New Zealand. As a Californian, I can't vote on it, right? But I can use my connections, my web, to help spread the awareness that this person is up for re-election and, you know, maybe some of the things that they've already been able to do while being in office, and, you know, just kind of helping to hopefully get the word out to the voters under their purview that, you know, if they would like continued green representation, they've got to act. And,
Okay.
you know, again, yes, one hand washes the other.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. I think it's a really good point, Jason. I think there's perhaps a few parts to that. There's obviously the information sharing and like centralizing what is good work and make sure everyone can access it and know about it and share it. And perhaps to poke at your campaign skills, you know, finding out what worked in an area, like what has been effective at your grassroots level and how that can be transferred to other parts of the country, other parts of the region, other parts of the world, you know, success stories, and perhaps having a place where we can share capacity and share successes could be valuable. Great, thank you. Great, anybody else? Tyrone, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to the point I think it was Lorenzo made. I think with information sharing, it's really important we try to avoid gatekeeping wherever possible. It's been my experience that it's often unintentional, like, oh, I forgot to report back to my local branch about what happened at the state council meeting, and it doesn't disseminate out. So I think wherever possible, you know, obviously there's sensitive things like finances and campaign nitty gritty strategy, but wherever possible, trying to make it as accessible to everyone. And just on the, you know, supporting each other's campaigns, with the energy policy group, we were seeing candidates who were really energy focused and being like, let's go jump on their social media and like give them support around energy policy, and give them encouragement on that. So I definitely think that works. Even just a simple feed, like where like their Twitter post comes up and we can go, oh, that's a cool idea, and jump on that. So yeah.
Absolutely, and I think as part of how we move forward, we really like to enhance our connectivity, enhance the social media side of it, and what we do. I think being able to sort of quickly and rapidly share things into a global network and that disseminate out is something we'd really, really like to promote. So perhaps that's another idea for a working group. If we've got a social media campaigns people or social media sharing people out there, please, you know, you might see by my hairline here, I'm a little bit older in the tooth, so some things I know, some things I don't. But if there's those of you out there who are interested in that and how we can quickly disseminate and share information and support each other's ideas, see what works, I think that could be a really good idea for a working group. So thanks for that, Tyrone. Great, anybody else?
Natasha's got her hand up.
Oh, wonderful. Hi, Natasha.
Hello, sorry, it's been a big day. I'm web fried, but no, it's been really good. I've really enjoyed this because I guess
Awesome.
for me, coming from Australia, I see Australia and there's Greens all around the world. And it's really nice to see that obviously we've all got the same ethos, same beliefs and all that kind of stuff, which is lovely, which is really good. Don't know what I'm really trying to say. I'm a bit tired, but I guess in the end of the day, I think my biggest thing for me is I'm very tired of the government in Australia. I mean, I'm sure the Greens are the Greens because of what I support the Greens because of what they believe in. You know, that's my biggest thing. And I would love to see them in power. That would be my dream, would be a Green PM. Yes. Wouldn't that be just brilliant? But no, that's not going to happen. But I guess I'd like to see, I don't know how it would even happen. I guess I'm just brainstorming ideas of accountability for a lot of our politicians. I feel at the moment, it's a funny feeling because I actually work for the state government. So it's a funny feeling, but I just feel that I'd like to sort of see maybe Australia, worldwide, I'm not sure. I just like, you know, I guess I support the Greens because I'm tired of what the Labor and Liberal, and this is in Australia alone, of what they're doing. So I'd like to sort of think, what are other countries doing that makes them want to go green? You know what I mean? I guess it's kind of interesting. I'll look back over and to see what the 6 things you mentioned at the beginning, your stance and all that kind of thing. Obviously, we want not energy, environment, all that kind of thing. So I guess it's kind of interesting to see, like, the whole energy thing is very different state. And then other parts of Europe have got wind turbine, yet our Prime Minister thinks they look ugly. So it's kind of very interesting to see. I don't even know what I'm trying to say anymore. I've been exhausted, but, you know, I really want to sort of see if there's the similarities and differences. So I guess what we've been talking about has been really interesting, that whole media thing, or however you think. Like, it was interesting now talking to that gentleman from California, how he campaigns for his lady and I'll campaign for mine kind of lady. So it's kind of really interesting to see. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I'm losing it. But, you know, I just feel it's in, like, if we can all come together, like, again, to that whole collaboration of ideas. It's like, well, I want this because, you know, I guess Australia, again, too, we are so extreme in weather, you know, so that's kind of interesting. We've got obviously droughts, then we can flood. So our energy goes towards that way. Well, in America, I guess parts of America, you know, their climate's very different. Or I'm kind of thinking of examples anymore. That kind of, on the whole refugee, I'm very much involved with Amnesty International. So my biggest thing is human rights and all that kind of thing. So that's kind of an interest of mine as well. So it's kind of interesting to see, well, I support this part because of this is what's happening in my country. And if there's similarities, is there differences? You know, I don't know. I'm probably rambling now, but that kind of.
No, that's really great,
Does
Natasha.
that all
Thank
make
you.
sort of sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can see you sort of disseminating all the ideas and everything that you've taken on today, and that's really cool. I mean, there's a few things. I think perhaps what we touched upon, sort of linking with Jason, you were talking about campaigns, and maybe a campaigns working group would be really great. Solidarity, showing what works well, success stories, what doesn't work, and also things will work in different parts of the world, or different countries, or different regions, or different neighborhoods that won't work in another, and finding out why that is and sharing that too. I mean, there might be something specific if you're interested specifically in refugees and migration. That sounds to me like a really good idea for a working group. You know, that's a great way we can bring together North and South and East and West and everybody, and find out what's happening in different countries and what responses are, and information sharing too. So great, thank you, Natasha.
That's right, no problem.
Great, thank you. Got a couple more hands up. Peffy.
Ia te tautu ngosi, tu talatu mai he motu he tau Cooler Nation here in Victoria. I was so utterly excited with the previous workshop session that was facilitated by Dominic and assisted by Nick, and the fine speakers that we had. So I'd love to get together with a few people who were also present there and just talk about the, you know, reigniting the global Indigenous network, if that's possible. And I know that I'm extremely conscious that we don't have our elders from that particular session who were the speakers, that they're not actually on the screen, but perhaps we could start a tentative discussion, if you wouldn't mind. The other that occurs to me is that under the auspices of climate change, climate migration and mobility is not really given the depth and breadth that it should have, that it deserves and needs from our Greens parties. And it really does need focused attention, simply because it sits under the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly and Regular Migration, which sits under the International Organization of Migration. So, you know, different agency, different funding, different kind of foci. So I'd really like to tease that out a little bit more. I don't know where to put it, but perhaps it can be parked up for now. I have ensured that I get onto the Women's Climate Action Group, so perhaps I could tease something out from that particular relationships, because I certainly would like for it to be focused, given that it has its own conference as well. So just those two things, and thanks, Frank and Bob.
No, thank you, Peffy. That was really fantastic. So just to highlight that, an Indigenous working group, I think, is something that'd be really, really valuable. And perhaps we'll pop that and see the interest in how we can take that forward, and perhaps furthering what Natasha's saying about refugees, climate migration. We know it's here, it's happening. We need to consolidate response and understand what's going on, and make sure we develop good policy and action on that too. So I think they're two excellent ideas. Thank you. Thank you. Next up, we have Till. Hi.
Well, hello everybody. Cheers from Austria. Well, I'm new to this whole global green thing. This is my first international conference, and I don't have a feeling what the global greens exactly are, what they're trying to accomplish. I mean, what I would expect as a complete newbie to this topic is to have like a platform where we can collaborate, where we can put all of our knowledge, like a knowledge database, so we can, gain insight into all these climate change topics. And there are lots of topics where we need to build up our knowledge. And the second thing is just, connections. How can we collaborate together? How can we get some friends, some people that globally now know how to work together? There's so many topics where, for example, the energy sector that that Tyrone mentioned, where global cooperation is needed, and this north-south balance energy-wise, where on the one hemisphere you have no west-east, sorry, where you have solar power, and where you have to send the power all across the globe, so everybody has energy. And there's so many topics where international collaboration is needed, and I think the Green Party, the Global Greens, could they would be important for this, And these are the two things that I expect most: knowledge and collaboration. And how can we put this?
So Till, I'll just to tease it out a bit with the database and the sharing of information. Do you see that as sort of processes and policies, or would it be more around the part?
It could be on every topic, I think. I mean, there's so many information nowadays in the internet, and you can hardly differentiate between, fake news, alternative facts, and actual real studies that good universities did, and that you can build upon. I mean, there are studies how all of the world can go completely renewable, and how can we put more emphasis and more focus on these good studies and away from all these not so good studies? I guess we have many experts in many important areas, right? I mean, energy is just the most important one for me, I think. And if you have experts, putting like little speeches in there for beginners, for advanced people, so everybody can dive into certain topics and get more knowledgeable, I think everybody would what's the correct word for this? Damn it. Profit
Benefit.
from this.
Benefit, yeah. Thank you.
I think that's fantastic, Till. And there's such a lot of complication with each issue. We're already covering a lot of issues too, and I think perhaps the idea of like you're interested in energy, if there's an energy working group as part of that remit, and the next session, guys, will be perhaps putting some themes into breakout rooms, and you can enter the breakout room which most aligns with your. I know you've all got lots of interests, but perhaps they're the top one. And from that, we'll obviously be working out what the remit of those groups will be, what the aim is, what the outcomes will be, and what you want to be doing. So perhaps for something like energy and some of the other themes as well, looking at how you introduce people, how do you collate a knowledge database, and how do you information share will be an important part of that process. Excellent. Thanks so much, Till.
Thank you.
Just looking at the chat, we've got a comment from Steph Jansen. Related to previous comments, develop and set the guide how to establish a Green Party. That's great. Structure campaigning and fundraising in combination with a buddy system, where one strong, evolve, or established party supports initiatives or small. Steph, if you don't mind, I'm going to bring you in on that to expand it slightly, but just to highlight an idea we've sort of bandied around is a party twinning system. I'm sure this happens in many parts of the world, where your local town is twinned with another town or somewhere else, another country, another region. And we've thought about perhaps proposing something like that. But Steph, are you in the house? Are you able to expand on that slightly?
Hi, okay, I hope you can hear and see me.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, like in some countries, I think mostly in the Western world, specifically Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and some Western European countries, like the Greens are quite well established. They are known, and well, whereas in other, I think most other countries, there may be some exceptions, we're still small, hardly existing, completely unaware. So instead of all those people, small initiatives having to reinvent the wheel, why not use all the knowledge we have? Like it doesn't work the same in other countries. Obviously, like the world is a wide place. Like what works in one place doesn't work in another place. But some things can be kind of maybe more universal. So instead of people with certain ideas trying to establish itself, just give them, here you got a guidebook, and try this with work in our place, and also give them some guidance and guidelines. So that's my idea.
Absolutely, I think that's really, really powerful idea. If the wheel has been invented, we don't need to reinvent it, do we? And I think it ties in with a few suggestions already, but perhaps also with this sort of twinning idea that we find a buddy system. So perhaps there could be a buddy or a twinning network that would specifically work upon the mechanisms by which we align different parties for different reasons. I think that would be a very, very worthwhile and powerful tool. Thanks, Steph. That's great. Do we have anybody else? Hi, Gavin.
Hello.
Hi there. Go for it.
Hi, Gavin. I'm in Scotland. Yeah, so I'm less tired than other people. I've just sort of started, but I hope everyone's enjoyed the sessions that have happened whilst we've been sleeping here. Just a couple of points in picking up on what you'd said. I like the idea of a buddy system. I think we sort of feel that maybe in the past we've been very focused on Europe, because obviously we've got a formal relationship in our regional, like the EGP, our regional federation, and we've got certain things we have to do that mean that we're engaging with them, but less so with other green parties. And COP26, I think, was good with it being in Scotland. It got us more involved in that, and that's something that we'd like to continue. So I think a buddy system would be good there if it matched up, not maybe just small and large parties, but maybe parties from different, like global south, global north, whatever. Because I don't think it's just necessarily about resource sharing, or I don't think it should necessarily be about what we can get from the connection, but more even, often our politics, we're focused on getting people elected in our neck of the woods and our problems and stuff, but I think it's important that we're a global organization or network, and we're one family. So it's important that we hear about the struggles and the issues of Greens elsewhere, not to benefit us, if you like, but just because for solidarity and how we can get involved and help them. So not like a one-way thing, like a two-way thing. It's not about what we can get from the local Greens, but maybe what we can put back as well. And just echo the sort of stuff about obviously not reinventing the wheel and trying to be efficient by sharing examples of what people have done elsewhere, so that people don't maybe have to, they can pick up a campaign or material that somebody else has developed and then just tweak it or whatever. Sorry, spoken far too long.
Not at all. That's really valuable and fantastic. Thanks, Gavin, and thanks for that addition as well. I think that's really important. That it's not implicit. Obviously, we all want to gain and enhance what we're doing in our neck of the woods, our part of the world, our region, our city, our town. But it's what we put into the system as well. And we all know networks and working groups are effective because people put into it. And what you put into it, you kind of get out. So I think that's a really important part of that impetus there. Thanks, Gavin. I see David. Hi, David. David Shires.
Yeah, hi. I want to follow on from that discussion about twinning. First of all, I noticed that there was a group working on twinning. That group is now, I actually wrote a letter yesterday to the secretary about raising the issue of doing this, twinning again. when I lived in Sweden, this is through the Social Democratic Party, but also workers' education, we had enormous amount of twinning from local branches, local ABF branches in over 20 different countries. Not only did we exchange ideas, but my role in many countries was working with capacity development, training, and so forth. And so I would be really interested in to see the possibility to set up that twinning group, if that's possible, and maybe share a bit more of my experience when I worked in Nicaragua, in South Africa, in Palestine, and so forth, working with what we used to call people to people. That is, local groups in Ballarat, working with a local group in Johannesburg. Why not? That's where you get a different kind of approach to this. So I'd be very interested to see if we could start this twinning group again. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks, David. Sounds like you got some really, really good insight and first-hand experience about how that can work and what the benefits are and how it can be operationalized as well. So I'd like to see you in that group, sir. Thank you. Does anybody else have anything before we move on? Oh, hi, Peffy. Go on. Hi.
Thank you, Frank, and thank you to the previous comments. In due time, so perhaps this needs to be packed up and we're all aware of it, but in due time we will need a knowledge management system that is not only going to, you know, take credence of intellectual property, but also just tidy up all the information under the greens that people can access and or have limited access to. And I know that we don't have the resources just yet to do that, but you know, that could be packed up. I know it must concern all of you at a global level. The other two is just a directory, a database of skilled people who are part of the mentoring, and especially twinning. So perhaps, David, that could be taken care of in that respect. The other that we really haven't given much attention to is research. Research conducted by Greens and authorized by Greens, you know, for dissemination or other purposes. But we're needing a robust, you know, data behind quite a few of the strategies that we think we may wish to push on. It's just one of those sensible things. So yeah, thank you.
Not at all. That's really valuable again, Peffy. Thank you. I think there's a lot of information out there, isn't it? And when we're talking and discussing or debating with different people, being able to sort of readily get the information that we want that's digestible and manageable and kind of relevant is time consuming too. So I see like knowledge management coming into sort of the communications section. And as you mentioned, the skill sharing, perhaps fitting into the twinning or buddy mentoring system that we might bring about. Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Anything further at all? Okay, great. Bob, should we move on to the next section, do you think?
Well, I think with, like, I was sort of hoping that we might get a bit more action or interest, and I'm not sure there's only a couple of specific suggestions like twinning and a database, energy policy, and Indigenous, and a few others, but I'm not sure that it's worth having breakout rooms to discuss. I'm interested in what the group thinks. Like, we were planning on going into breakout rooms to discuss further, but if there's not a level of discussion here in this group, then perhaps that's not going to achieve very much. But I would be interested in the opinion of the group, what we do now.
Go on, Tyrone. I see your hand up.
Yeah, so I'm always keen for a discussion on energy policy. So if anyone else wants to get involved in a discussion on energy policy, we can either do it here as a breakout group for this session, or I can make one of the cafe hangout chats. I don't mind. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I mean, what we'd like to do today is, rather than perhaps discuss the aspects of policy, Tyrone, be looking at how an energy working group would function and how that would happen and what they would be doing and who would be interested in that. So I think that'll be really interesting. I think it's a really interesting theme as well. I'd like to see people involved with that. It's a really, really important theme.
I would definitely be keen on driving an energy working group. So yeah.
Excellent. Good to hear.
All right, thanks, Tyrone. I think maybe if you can start a chat or a meetup, and yeah, just gather some ideas and other people who are interested, and let us know. And we can certainly be interested in starting a working group if there's the energy to start one.
Well, Bob, I mean, I've written down probably about 6 or 7 different themes that we could go with. If people want to shout with this, perhaps we could go for the breakout rooms and see how those conversations happen. And if people want to correct or clarify any of these, please do. But before I do that, I just want to shout out Vladislav. We all believe in peace. What about an international coordinated response on international conflicts? Absolutely, I think that's really important. Thank you. Perhaps looking at our thematics of setting up working groups, that could be part of a communications working group, making sure we centralize response in that way. So thank you. But from what I've written down, we're looking at something like a social media working group, a campaign, from what Jason was saying. From Natasha and Pefi, refugees or climate migration would be a group. Indigenous would be a group. Communications, which would fit in some of the knowledge sharing, information sharing. This may fit in a little bit separate, but twinning, and then of course energy, as Tyrone's mentioned there. So that would be 7. What do we think about that? Should we name some groups and see what comes of that? What are your thoughts, Bob? Yeah, got 2 thumbs. Got
well,
some thumbs.
I guess so.
Let's go for it, shall we?
If we can give it a go, sure.
All right then. So guys, there's going to be 7 themed breakout rooms happening. Basically, from these breakout rooms, please assign yourself to it. You should be able to do that. It's just to have a discussion about what that working group around that theme might look like, what your aim would be, what your activities would be, and what your outcomes would be. Okay. So just give me a moment to set this up, if I can. Oops, excuse me.
Hi, Diane. I see you've just joined. Welcome to the group. We've just, Frank's just setting up some breakout rooms for us to join if we want to discuss the possible groups that we might form.
Excellent. And is it random or do we choose a group?
No, we've gone through and had a bit of a discussion about what groups people are interested in. So Frank is just setting up those groups now.
Excellent. Yes, I stopped for dinner. This time zone thing has been very interesting.
It has. It was a bit mind-boggling having a 24-hour event.
I like it. I got to get to sleep soon, though, so I can wake up in the middle of the night to watch more.
Yep. Everything is being recorded, so it'll be on YouTube in a week or two.
Okay there, so I'll just be opening the rooms in a second, guys. There'll be 7 themed breakout rooms. You can assign yourself the room. Sorry, you only have to choose one at this point. And again, we'll be looking at, if someone wants to sort of take a bit of a lead in facilitating the conversation, that'd be valuable. Again, looking at the aim of the group, teasing out some outcomes and activities, okay? All right, we'll pop in and out of the breakout rooms if that's okay, just to say hello, see how things are going. And what would also be great if people are interested in any way, shape or form being more involved in a small or big way, we'd love it if you can pop your email addresses in the chat and the name of the working group or groups you might be interested further in. So please keep us looped in like that. All right, we're going to open the rooms now. Bob, we're going to give about 20 minutes for this, shall we also? To see how it goes?
Yep.
Yep. All right, guys. So away you go. Any questions, you can obviously pop into the main session or pop a question in the chat or direct messages. Okay. Thank you.
So what happens now, Frank?
Have you had a message that you should you can assign to a room?
Nope.
Okay, excellent. That's good to know. Thank you. Just bear with me a second.
Oh, that's it. Thanks, Frank.
Cool. Is that okay now?
Yep.
Yep, great. Excuse me, pardon me for that.
I still don't see anything.
No. Breakout rooms not started.
Aha, here we go. Okay, let's try that now.
Breakout rooms down at the bottom.
Yep, can we all see the options for a breakout room now?
No, I can't see where it is.
Down at the bottom, there's, if you touch your screen somewhere, move your mouse, you'll see a thing that says breakout rooms next to the share screen chat.
And join.
No.
If anyone who's just joined in, we're going into breakout rooms based on themes that we would like new working groups to be developed upon. If you hit the breakout room function at the bottom of your toolbar, you should be given an option to join one of those groups. Okay. Oh, I should mention as well, unfortunately, there's no interpretation in the rooms.
So what exactly are we doing in these breakout rooms? Are we coming up with the goals of a working group or what?
Absolutely, Margaret, yes. So looking at the aims of the working group, potential activities. and how we might want to take that forward.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Excuse me, please, Frank.
Hi, Kathy.
I'm not having much luck actually getting into a room.
Okay.
I noted that I may be the only one Indigenous, so therefore I will go into refugees migration.
Yeah.
Would you mind sending me a note so that I could click on it and get into that particular room?
To refugees and migration?
Yes,
I can assign you personally if you will.
Excellent, thank you.
But Pefi, please, regarding the Indigenous group as well, I think that's fantastic. It's something we've been speaking a lot about internally. So if you want to connect with me post-session regarding that, any ideas, thoughts at all would be really valuable, to frank@globalgreens.org. Okay, you drop me an email there. That'd be really wonderful. We'd really appreciate that. I'll assign you to the refugees migration group.
Thank you very much.
No problem at all. You should have that there now. Anybody else having trouble being assigned to a breakout room, do let me know and I can assign you manually. Okay. Hi, has David come back in?
Yeah, there's only one in that group, so I
I
think
just
I'll
noticed that I was about to come and say hello.
Yeah.
That's happened for a couple of them. No, not at all, not at all. I mean, people can only choose one because I think there is a lot of interest, as you can tell from the conversation too. If you don't mind popping into another one,
sure. No worries.
Communications. But David, do drop me an email post conference at frank@globalgreens.org. You'll find me on the website too. There's definitely other interest in this too. There's a lot of noise elsewhere too. So I think it's something we will be taking forward in some shape or form. And your contributions will be really valuable.
I wrote yesterday to the secretary from, but I'll send one to you as well. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's probably come through to me as well. But pardon me, I've got the secretariat email as well.
Okay. So I sent that yesterday.
Oh, great. So I'll check that out. Pardon me, it's conference stuff. I've been sort of prioritizing that part.
No worries at all. Okay.
Wonderful. I'll pick that up, David. Thanks so much. If you want to pop into another room, and then
we'll do.
For that conversation post-conference. Great. Just a quick shout out to Jolina on tech support. Jolina, I'm just going to pop into the breakout rooms and just stick my head in and see how things are going, and I'll come back into the main session. If any problems, give me a quick shout on the chat, okay?
Yeah, will do. Thank you.
Wonderful, thanks. Hi, for anybody who's just joined the session, what we have at the moment is some breakout rooms around themes for potential working groups. Okay, so you're happy to just wait in here until we get some feedback. Well, there'll be another 5 minutes or so in there. If you want to, you can assign yourself to a breakout room. So if you see a theme with some people in there and you'd like to join in and find out what's happening, please do that yourself, and you can do that independently. Hey, Bob.
Oh, hi. How are we going with our breakouts? Lots of people back here already.
Yeah, there's a few people hanging out, I think, who may be flicking between a couple of sessions. But the
Okay.
you look at the breakout rooms themselves, all bar two have a few people in them. I've just popped in the other rooms now, and conversation's still going on.
Yep, I just left social media. That's still going.
Yeah, it looks well populated.
Yep, got some good ideas.
Great. I might put a broadcast out to everybody, and then perhaps if you give them 5 more minutes or so, conversation's still going on.
I think so.
I think it's going nicely. Anybody who's still in the room and listening, you're welcome to chat with us too. And if you've got any ideas for networks, working groups, thoughts, suggestions, other things you want to raise, please do so now. But perhaps, Bob, I'll put a shout out to rooms, and perhaps we'll ask 1 or 2 people from each group to sort of briefly summarize what they were discussing and how they might take it forward, and collect email addresses.
Yep.
All right, cool. I'll put that in the chat now.
You can do a broadcast to the breakout rooms, I think, can't you? You can tell the breakout rooms that there's 5 minutes left or something. I've never done it. I've been on the receiving end. That long enough?
I've just written about 2 minutes ago saying there's 5 minutes, so we'll give it till 1:15, I think, and then.
No worries. Yep.
Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
That'll probably be a few minutes wrap up, and then that should be it. Okay, I think that's good. We'll close rooms and then reconvene. Okay. So just a message to the interpreters. Again, thanks for your patience. We'll come back to the main session now, and we'll do a quick summary for the next few minutes or so of each of the main sessions, each of the breakout rooms, excuse me. Hi everybody, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Lovely to see you all. I'm just going to give a quick shout out for Melissa for having the most amusing backdrop there. Brilliant, points for that. Wonderful. All right, everybody. Sorry to cut short your conversations. I'm sure lots of popped into each of the sessions and lots of wonderful things being said. Look, we really like to take some of these great ideas and energy forward. So what we'd like to do for each of the sessions, if one or two people would like to just perhaps very, very briefly, I know you probably spoke about a lot of different things, there's a lot of passion and interest there. If you could very briefly just sort of summarize what you were discussing, what you think, how that group might look, what the aims might be and what the outcomes. Okay, so let's start from the top. This is a well-populated group. Would someone from the social media breakout room like to pop up their hand and again just offer a very brief summary of what you're talking about and how we would take the group forward?
I'm quite happy to, unless Melissa wants to. No. Okay. All right. It was a very good group, I thought. We weren't sure exactly what our aim was to be, but some of the ideas that came forward is we're sort of hoping within the Global Greens there might be some sort of a resource that can create a media pool for us, that because we see that around the world different Greens groups do have great stuff to share, but to have that available so that we can all share it, we can emphasize the things that are going on in other people's countries. And possibly, you know, things like a catalog of the solutions. So if somebody has an issue, they can go there and see how some other Greens group is doing it and create a platform possibly for each country, maybe a website where all this stuff can be shared again, so that each group can come together and share their things. Now, some of the ideas for sharing is maybe just the good things, like how the world should be, such as a alternative to the GDP or something like that. But then another one that was raised is in Fukushima, where there's been, in Japan, where the fallout from Fukushima is being suppressed. And they're having a very difficult time getting it out there. And we heard the good news, well, it's hard to say it's good news. There are 4 young people with thyroid cancer who are suing the company responsible. And I think we'll all be interested to find out what comes out of that and what we can do with that. So yeah, if we could, it'd be great to have some sort of a sharing resource of media and then help each other country get their word out globally.
Wonderful. That's great, Diane. It's a great summary. I think, yeah, just to echo that, obviously, social media is the way by which we all communicate in some shape or form these days, isn't it? And we have various social media platforms. A bit of that is a bit of capacity. So within the social media team, perhaps people who would help us manage some of those platforms and develop a social media strategy with us would be fantastic. And then just to echo what you said, making sure we're reinforcing positive messaging, because that's what we're all about, we're Greens, and at the same time making sure we're sharing issues and concerns and things that are being suppressed in different parts of the world and making sure we're getting it out there, whether people do that. So that's wonderful. That's really, really great. Thanks, Diane. Again, anyone from that group, if you'd like to pop your email into the chat, that'd be really fantastic, and we can look at how we can push that forward. That's a really important one. Thank you. Let's move on to the next group, which I think was campaigns. Okay, would anyone from the campaigns group like to share your insights and thoughts?
Rosalie, would you like to let everyone know? Or
I could. Yeah, look, we talked about effective campaigning, and we do lots of things in order to get our candidates elected, but we really don't know what's effective. And there is a need to use limited resources effectively and look for some research in order to win elections. Anyone else?
Yes, you know, we did talk about that quite a bit, and if anybody can help cite proper research as to what aspects of campaigning are effective, or less or more effective, it would be great to share that kind of information. As an example, I think we all do letterboxing, at least in Australia. We print, you know, thousands and thousands of leaflets, and we put them in people's letterboxes. And a lot of us have got a gut feeling that this is ineffective, but we still do it because we're not willing to stop doing it. I'd be willing to stop doing it if I could cite proper research that said this is a waste of time and money. But I don't know any such research. So as a campaign manager for the New South Wales Greens, I just approve everything that anyone wants to do because I've got no idea how we win, why we win. I mentioned that we won the last local government election in my area. It was joyous and we were dancing in the streets. But when we did our debrief afterwards, we're really not quite sure why we won.
Good, because you're good, I'm sure. But absolutely, I think there's aspects of of knowing what works and why. I'll share a little bit from. I'm based in Europe now, but I'm linked to the Green Party of England and Wales historically. There, they've got a system called Target to Win, which is a specific set of proven methods in your constituency to target people where and why and how. So perhaps looking at what works nationally with different parties and finding a way to collate that information. It's not always going to work in different parts of the world and different countries, but an idea of what the strategy is and what the thinking and the rationale behind it is and how that could go into different places would be valuable. So I think the campaign group been looking at what works and why, and being able to share that around the world to give support to various campaign managers. Is that something that you think that the campaign working group would be good at? Yeah.
Yes, great. Please.
Yeah, I noticed Jason from that group had his hand up too. Jason, anything further to contribute?
Yeah, I was going to add in that we did talk about when thinking of you know, how to successfully campaign, using marketing research and marketing tools, being able to develop a successful sales pitch of your idea, your solution to said problems, being able to do that, and as door knocking was mentioned earlier, which is word of mouth, which is pretty much the go-to for any sort of marketing, messaging, anything. And even in today's social media age, word of mouth, you know, family members might see the same thing said by some random person on Twitter, but when their niece or nephew or their son or daughter or mother or father come in and say that same thing, it actually makes a deeper impact. So we may potentially want to try to develop some way to help all of our global greens kind of refine this method.
Yeah, I think that's really valuable, Jason, as well. And perhaps there could be like synergy across working groups as well. For example, those with social media expertise know, for example, how Facebook adverts run and what you need to do that. So you can dip in and out and call upon expertise from different parts of the working groups too. Wonderful. Thanks, Jason. Let's move along to the energy group. I think either Lorenzo or Tyrone.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Lorenzo and I had a discussion around the energy working group, and we really felt that the Greens often lack an understanding of energy policy, not necessarily because we're bad at it or anything, but just because it's a very complex issue. And there's so many different issues that we're all passionate about. So we really hope that an energy working group would provide practical evidence and information from people working within the sector. Lorenzo himself works in the renewable sector, and also evidence-based policy around the different systems. What are their ecological impacts? What are their social impacts? There's a session coming up around the need for mining for different energy technologies. So I think that we could provide a really solid knowledge foundation for Greens members and supporters to draw on when they're talking about energy policy, because we were also saying, often in debates, Greens candidates kind of, struggle with the energy question, whereas other parties that are really, interested in energy policy or have a primary focus on that, especially when it comes to market liberalization, they can, often make us look like we lack information. So we really want to provide that solid foundation. So if you want to get involved, we would love to be involved, and I'm, happy to drive this.
That sounds great, Tyrone. Wonderful. Yeah, and again, this comes from you guys. So we're a network and a community and a family, and what we all put in makes it work. And it's good to hear your enthusiasm for that too. And it's a consistent thing, isn't it, across a lot of these areas? Knowledge. What is the best knowledge? What is the best data? Because obviously we're often debating with people, and we want to convince people, and having the best way to talk about the right things is really important. So I think knowledge sharing from energy, and then policy, and making sure there's a comprehensive policy system that works for different people. Great, thanks, Tyrone. That's wonderful. Let's move along to another group. Let's move on to communications, if we could. Anyone from the communications group would like to contribute? Oh, Bill, I think you're on mute if you'd like to speak.
Yeah, the usual.
Exactly.
The usual Zoom thing. There were just three of us, and I think most of us were quite new to this, to Global Green. So we really didn't settle on, yeah, the communication something. Somebody's just posted something. I guess I like in the social media group, the idea of collaborating, forming some kind of network, so that the common arguments, the common pieces of news and policy that we want to promote have, we can share the background, share the evidence base, the arguments for, and therefore be more coherent globally when it comes to, putting our cases against a dominant, different, material, neoliberal kind of economic platform, and we want to promote a sustainability argument, a global survival argument, that we can, find what's worked in different locations and communicate that. But here's me extemporizing, because we had only, the briefest of conversations on purpose, and but it was great to have Austria, Australia, and Japan linked in that brief conversation. So that was great.
It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Really, really wonderful. Absolutely. And well, welcome if you're new to us as well. And don't worry, I think it's important to be able to talk through things and find solidarity and find commonality, because we do get a little bit sort of siloed in our respective worlds, don't we? And I think one of the many wonderful things about the Global Greens is how we can bring everyone together. We can have solidarity and communicate across different divides, really. And I think there is some synergy between communications and social media too. Obviously, they're kind of a synergized network, isn't it? And something we have been thinking about, and perhaps maybe moving forward, is some kind of Global Greens news, which again, we've got the Global Greens newsletters. For those that don't subscribe, I'll do a bit of a plug here. Drop your email through the website and you can subscribe to that, and as well, liking us all on different social media platforms too. Wonderful. Thanks, Bill. That was brilliant. Thank you so much. Let's move along. I think we just have one group left. If I'm mistaken, we've got the Refugees and Migration group. Would one or two people from that group like to share your insights? Anyone from Refugees and Migration? There's quite a lot of you in there, so maybe people have been shy. Would anyone like to summarize what's been spoken about and how you might move forward?
Sorry, I've got it. Yep, I've got it. Sorry, unmuted. Yeah, so we're from all over the world, which was kind of interesting, being the topic that it was. I guess the biggest thing that I came out of for me was a lady mentioned that in Japan that their government has done one thing or said one thing or signed one thing but haven't acted on it. And I relate that back to what's happening in Australia. We signed the charter of, it wasn't a charter, it was something about, it was a refugee, that we've signed something, but our government's not pulling up on it. So I guess for me, there's two things that sort of come out for me. We'd like to see, well, the government, you've signed this, you're not acting on it. So we'd like to see if that's happened in Japan. I don't know if it's in other parts of the world. I'm thinking, well, hang on, make them accountable for what they've done. So I don't know how the Greens could actually do that. But just even hearing that has made me think, wow, Australia's not alone, which was really lovely. Bill of Rights, really, at the end of the day, I think a Bill of Rights needs to happen. I know there's parts of the world that they've got a Human Rights Act, and I know for me here in Queensland, they want to have a Queensland Human Rights Act, and there's a Human Rights Charter and all that sort of thing, but there should be a Bill of Rights. I think we're sort of talking about very much of almost like a human rights kind of thing. So I guess at the end of the day, you have got that Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but this is probably be a little bit more specific on refugees or migration or that kind of thing. So we'd like to sort of see, I don't know, maybe I'm speaking out of school, but I mean, it was just interesting to see what other countries are doing. And I hate saying the word refugee crisis. It shouldn't be a crisis. The word crisis just makes me cringe. So, and I like that word climate migration. I've never heard that until now. So that's an interesting way of putting it as well. So we'd like to sort of very much see, again, it comes back down, there's a lot of similarities. If we can see what's worked in, I mean, every country's different, sure, but we can see that Canada's adopted some kind of method and it's worked for them. Well, why couldn't that work in this country? What's the barriers of not letting, what is that? And the cost of it, like, you know, it's the same the world over. We are spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on this when, you know, surely the government wants to save money, So why are we spending? So again, that's my biggest thing. It's just accountability and make them, how can we as a Greens movement who are so passionate about this, let them know, well, you've signed this, well, you've stuffed up. I'm sorry, you're not fulfilling the end of the bargain. The contract is null and void because you're not fulfilling what's in that contract. So maybe the contract needs to be reworded or something. You know, it's all, you know.
So yeah, I think there's an aspect of again, information sharing around key issues, and then working together to put pressure perhaps on respective governments or regions in the world too, and using our global network to actually show firsthand how and why these things are happening, and then we can put pressure there as well. So it looks like there's a link there to maybe campaigns too and accountability. And Pefi, would you like to contribute too?
No, actually, I facilitated and Natasha fed back. She forgot the most important bit, which is the outcome from the group that was agreed to, and that is a policy that you will hopefully start developing on our behalf and invite people to jump on depending on their expertise and interest. But we would like to see a climate migration policy. Thank you.
That's a really valuable idea, I think, Pefi, as well. So perhaps, you know, an idea of this is sort of collating different policies around the world and seeing where things aren't being done, as Natasha said, but also making sure we've got a comprehensive statement and policy around that, and we can use that to promote positive action. That's wonderful.
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you, everybody.
No, all good.
Thank you, Pefi. That's great. I think that is all of the groups. Unless I'm mistaken, please do shout out. I've been ticking them off. Is that them all? Yep, I think so. Wonderful. Bob, have we got any further thoughts or things you'd like to say?
No, just one. Sorry, just to finish off, we've got. Oh, what's happened? It's gone underneath this bar for some reason. Oh, there it is. So we do regularly ask for specific skills. So keep an eye on our website. And we've got social media that you can engage with. And if you've got any other suggestions or questions, then secretary@globalgreens.org is the place to go. So that's all I had. So thank you very much for coming along and sharing your ideas. There was a really lot of good ideas that we can take up and hopefully develop and work with over the next 18 months leading up to our next Congress. So I think that's all. So thank you very much. It was really good. Anything else, Frank?
I think that's it, guys. Yeah, one more time just to plug the social media. Again, like, share, and we will be doing more development of that, hopefully with the social media working group. Again, some people put emails in the chat. If you want to email me directly at the secretary@globalgreens.org email down there, please do. No matter how much your interest is, big or small. And just to say a massive thank you to the interpreters. Big shout in the house, doing wonderful work. We love you very much, making all this happen. And a big shout out to everybody who came along today. You've all been fantastic, and thank you so much for your contributions. That was really, really valuable. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the conference, guys. There's some fantastic things happening. Take care. Bye.